This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
An offensive no-show for your Milwaukee Brewers as they lose once again in Pittsburgh to the Pirates by a final score of 2-1. Lots to get into and a very, very frustrating performance from your Milwaukee Brewers, who fall to 25-28 on their season. Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Stein. Welcome to the Locked On Brewers Postcast edition. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon_Snide. And you can follow all of my work over at WTMJ.com. As always, thank you to each and every one of you for always making Locked On Brewers your first listen each and every day. My guy Chuck Freeman on the daily podcast. I got you on the post-game shows. And unfortunately, today we got to talk about the Brewers' second consecutive loss, a 2-1 stinker in Pittsburgh to the Pirates. Let's get to the scoring summary today. Again, brought to you by FanDuel. A 2-1 game, not much to really talk about as far as scoring goes. Spencer Horwitz doubling to center. That scored Brian Reynolds in the first inning. I don't know about you, but at the track of this Brewers team over the course of, 53 games, 54 games into the season, whatever it is, not very good trailing, and they certainly weren't today. However, Caleb Durbin in the second inning, following up a single to center field, that would score Christian Yelich. That would make it a 1-1 ball game and a defensive game thus forward into the seventh inning. Quinn Priester, I thought, pitched a fantastic game. We're going to talk a little bit about the decision Pat Murphy made to pull Quinn Priester, which teaser could be the turning point, or maybe spoiler, I should say. O'Neal Cruz, who continues to punish this Milwaukee Brewers team. Couple of home runs last night. The game-tying home run in the bottom of the ninth off Abner Uribe. He followed it up today with the go-ahead triple to center field, which would give the Pirates the 2-1 lead, and they would never look back because the Milwaukee Brewers were abysmal at the plate once again today. With runners in scoring position, the Brewers were a measly 2 for 8 today in Pittsburgh, and left on base 9, and they scored 1 run in the second inning, a single from Caleb Durbin. They take the loss 2-1 against the Pittsburgh Pirates, 25-28 on the season. And to make matters a little bit worse, now 10-18 on the road this season, something we did not see a year ago. Lots of reaction to get into. I appreciate all of you tuning into the Locked On Brewers Postcast. If you're there live on YouTube, drop some thoughts, drop your comments. We'll get to all of it. We'll start with our everydayer, Nick. 5 out of 7 is what this team needed. Can't even get that. Missed opportunities. Give credit for effort, but another wasted good pitching performance. 6 out of 7. We're close, Nick. I agree with you. 5 out of 7 was what they needed. I think it was very doable. I mean, outside of the Colorado Rockies and the Chicago White Sox, the Baltimore Orioles and the Pittsburgh Pirates are the worst teams in baseball. That's just what it is. They're not very good, and they're not far from where the White Sox are right now, even though they've won now back-to-back games over this Milwaukee Brewers team. You needed 6 out of 7, in my opinion. The Cardinals winning again today. The Cubs are currently losing. We'll see where the Brewers stand, as we look into the division throughout the weekend. Right now, with that Cubs score not final, 7 games back in the National League Central, and it's just not trending in the direction that this Milwaukee Brewers team this week needed to head into. Obviously, when you dig yourself a little bit of a hole, you got to do everything to kind of crawl back out of it. A great opportunity was given on the schedule for this Milwaukee Brewers team. 3 games against the Orioles at American Family Field, and now 4 games after we played 3 of them in Pittsburgh, and you've lost the first, or 2 out of the first 3, winning Thursday night. But very disappointing. 6 out of 7 was needed. DMH on YouTube, one word: feeble. Very, very feeble. Very, very, very feeble. Completely agree with that. Greg Melby, game was over when Alexander came in. DFA him for the love of God. And you know what? Because great minds think alike there, Greg, because I completely agree with you. let's get into what I thought was my turning point in the Brewers' 2-1 loss to the Pirates.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
I love Pat Murphy. I do. I really love Pat Murphy. I love everything about him. I love who he is on the field, off the field, in the clubhouse. I think he's a fantastic manager. It seems like so far this year, he's done a lot of over management that's been unneeded, right? And I've been on his case before, where he had a starter for Quinn Priester a couple of times now. Today, he did not. Quinn Priester goes 6 innings, allowed 6 hits, and just the 1 earned run, had 7 strikeouts as well. He threw 84 pitches. I don't understand if you're going to pull Priester in the 7th, which, number one, I disagree with. I think you should have let him go back out there. If he gets a guy on or the first guy, walks a batter or whatnot, you have an opportunity to still go make a pitching change. I don't think necessarily pulling him out of that 6th inning or after that 6th inning was the right move. And I thought he was fantastic. And then if you're going to make that move, for the love of God, I've said this before, I'll keep saying it. I think Tyler Alexander's a great guy. I've had enough of seeing him. I just have. I don't understand the thought process. You let him come in, he gives up, the triple to O'Neal Cruz that the Pirates would take the lead. They would never look back. They win 2-1. You had Aaron Ashby up here yesterday. You reinstated him. If you're going to go if you want a lefty, you want somebody to come in that 7th inning for Quinn Priester. Again, I would have left him in. I need somebody outside of Tyler Alexander. Then Grant Anderson comes in and 7 pitches later, they're out of the inning. I did not understand that decision from Pat Murphy on a few different fronts. Number one, I would have allowed Quinn Priester to continue pitching at 84 pitches. I thought he was really, really good today. He was sharp. He looked comfortable. And then number two, if you're going to pull him out of that 7th inning or not let him go back out to start that 7th inning, can we get somebody outside? We learned our lesson with Yoel Payam, so we eventually DFA'd him. How many more times does Tyler Alexander need to show you that he's just not ready to be a reliever out of the pen? One of the first ones, in today's case, the first one, with a 5.08 ERA now for the Milwaukee Brewers. In 18 games pitched this year, he's allowed 19 runs. I did not understand it. I did not understand that for the life of me. That's the turning point in tonight's ball game, because I thought Quinn Priester was cruising. You could say Mitch Keller on the other side for the Pirates was also cruising, and the Brewers, again, their offense just failing at every aspect of this game. 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They leave 9 on base in a 2-1 loss to the Pirates, 25-28 on the season. Jim over on YouTube, tired of losing to bottom feeders. Pick it up, guys. I got bad news. If you're struggling against, I wouldn't say you struggled against Baltimore. You won 2 out of 3. You'd take that, but I think they should have won all 3. You now lost your 2 out of the first 3 games of this series to the Pirates. If you're struggling against these teams, and we've talked about it last night on this Brewers POSTCAST edition over on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. You can get all of our videos. The schedule gets tough after this weekend. And that's why I said this was a test that they failed this week. They're now 3-3 playing 2 of the worst teams in baseball. There's no excuse to be 3-3. There's just not. If you have playoffs in your mind, if you have, division championship in your mind, going 3-3 against the 2 worst teams in baseball, 2 of some of the worst teams in baseball, it's just not going to get it done, especially when you have dug yourself a hole throughout the course of the early part of the season. But like Rhys Hoskins has said, at what point do we stop talking about when do we get going? When do we start going? Because at some point, too late is too late. And the Brewers might be there because the division is much improved and a lot better than we anticipated. The Cardinals, from their slow start, improving. The Cubs, 11 games now over 500. They're starting to kind of, pick up steam in the division. We talked about how tough the NL is in general. You're not going to probably get a wild card spot in the National League Central with the teams that you have to go up against. It's a failed week so far, and there's no way of fixing it, right? You win tomorrow, great. You finish the week 4-3 against two of the worst teams in baseball. To me, it was a failed opportunity, a failed test. And once again, have now dug themselves against two of the worst teams in baseball into a deeper hole. Donovan on YouTube. This game kind of felt like a perfect microcosm of this season. And for some reason, the final straw. Ooh, Donovan. I don't want to disagree with you there because I think you might be onto something. I think you might be onto something. I don't want to say we're there yet. I told you, I mentioned it last night on the POSTCAST show. We'll know by June 19th. And I know that's, people are like, well, the trade deadline's right around the same time, a month or so after. I get it. The Cubs, the Cardinals, the Padres, the Phillies, the Red Sox. That's who the Brewers got lined up coming up next. I might be forgetting a team or two in there. It's brutal. It's brutal. It's brutal. It's brutal. So we'll see exactly what they can do. They do take a 2-1 loss. Lots of more of your reactions still being poured in. We'll get to all of that. The Brewers losing 2-1 in Game 3 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. There was something positive about this game. We'll discuss that coming up after this. The program today brought to you by FanDuel. Hopefully none of you had any money on the Brewers offense today. Maybe you had some dollars on Quinn Priester, 6 innings pitched and just the 1 earned run. However, if you didn't have any money on baseball, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivering highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and those can't-miss moments. Unfortunately, the Pacers keep winning. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it super easy for you to stay in the game before tip-off and during the game with live player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. You guys, the fans, have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. How does a $200 in bonus bets sound to you? Well, if you bet $5, and if you're new to FanDuel and your first $5 bet hits, FanDuel's offer is fantastic. If that first $5 bet hits, it will win you $200 in bonus bets. $200 in bonus bets. If you're new to FanDuel, again, the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And once again, if that bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, guys. It is really simple. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if that bet hits, you get $200 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com. The Milwaukee Brewers losing Game 3 to the Pirates over there in Pittsburgh. 2-1, now 25-28 on the season. And if you're like Donovan over on the YouTube chat, was this the final straw for your Brewers? Jason over on YouTube, it is already too late. This year is over for the playoffs. Thank you, Mark A. It's entertaining, right? Not your job to win a World Series, Mark. Apparently not your job to make it entertaining either. If I had a bell, Jason, that would be the comment of the day. All of your guys' comments are fantastic. That's absolutely right. Again, we had talked about it. I went in on Mark A a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago. When you don't improve the left side of the infield, and you get rid of the guy that led your team in home runs and was the leader in the clubhouse, and you don't supplement that with nothing, this is what you get. This is what you get. A summer of fun, not very fun. If you're a Brewers fan like me, and I know like all of you, this isn't very fun. 2-1 loss. 2-1 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Again, the worst team in baseball, one of the worst teams in baseball, sorry. The Colorado Rockies and the White Sox edge them out just a little bit. But this is what you get. This isn't fun. Fun to me is winning ball games. Fun to me is being competitive. Speaking of fun, Jason, this is a great comment because he got me going now. Just look at the players, right? Totally different than it was a year ago. They don't even look like they're having fun, even when they do something great. Yelich hits a home run, and he leads a team in home runs, and he's probably struggled the most at the plate, so that tells you a lot. But he hits home run, and he kind of has that big sigh and kind of rolls his head like, finally, I got something going. Nothing is fun for this team. Obviously, when you lose 2-1 to one of the worst teams in baseball, it makes it less fun. But even when they do things the right way, which few and far between, it hasn't been fun for this Brewers team. Mark Antanasio, the owner of this Milwaukee Brewers team, failed. He failed this team massively. When you lose a guy like Willie Adames and you don't do anything to rectify that, this is what you get. You get a 3 games under 500, an offense that is 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position, an offense that left 9 runners on base. Every starting pitcher needs to go out there and pitch a darn near no-hitter for this offense to give them a chance. This is what you get. Mark Antanasio failed this Milwaukee Brewers team. The core, and I know DMH was asking me, and I mentioned it on Twitter at Brandon_Snide. I still believe the core is here for this team. I believe the core is still here. I think it's intact. Jackson Chourio, right? Bryce Terrain, Sal Frelick, Garrett Mitchell when he returns. And I know a lot of people are, pessimistic on his return health-wise. You got up-and-comers down in the minor leagues. I still think the core is here. I don't think Joey Ortiz is your everyday shortstop, or at least shouldn't be. I did say when you get to something positive, Caleb Durbin today. We got to give credit where credit's due. You want to be positive. 3 for 3 with an RBI in his first 3-hit game of his career. Caleb Durbin today, a positive aspect for this Milwaukee Brewers as they lose 2-1 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. 3 games under 500 now. And look, if this doesn't sum up, this will put the cherry on top for Mark Antanasio's approach to the offseason. And I understand how baseball works, right, guys? Like, we're not the Mets, we're not the Dodgers, we're not the Yankees. We're not going to go out there and have, $300, $400, $500 million guys. But when you lose a guy that led your team in home runs and runs batted in and was a vital piece to what made this team successful, and you don't do anything to rectify that loss, I don't know how anybody's surprised. I was down on this team before the season started. I didn't think they were going to be as good as last year. I thought a lot of things went right for them last year, and to their credit, this year it's the complete opposite, right? They're finding ways, they're inventing ways to lose ball games, and they're quite frankly doing it to themselves. I.e. Pat Murphy pulling out Quinn Priester and putting in Tyler Alexander today, and he gives up the triple to O'Neal Cruz, and that's all the Pirates needed. But you got to give credit where credit's due. I'll give credit where credit is due. Caleb Durbin today, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him and his effort today. 3 for 3, his first 3-hit game of his career. He looked comfortable at the plate. He did get hit by a pitch late in the game, so we'll see if that lingers. Hopefully that's nothing going forward for him injury-wise. But that's your positive for this team. But the cherry on top, I kind of mentioned before, this Milwaukee Brewers team, we had mentioned them falling behind in the record and all that. How about this? They've never won a game when they've trailed after the 7th inning this season. Not one game have they won when trailing after the 7th inning. Just give up. Like a few of you have said, feeble. I guess that's just what it's going to have to be for this Milwaukee Brewers team as they lose 2-1 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. We had mentioned your thoughts, your comments. Ian, not shying away. This team sucks. I don't really think I can disagree. I don't think anybody can, quite frankly, disagree. There's nothing. I had mentioned this a few times now since I have started doing the postcast show here on the Locked On Brewers YouTube channel. There's nothing this team does great. Last year there was a lot of things: pitching, bullpen, defense, base running. That's just not, and nothing they do this year sticks out as being, if we can do this or we can do that, we have a chance. Quite frankly, if you're a starting pitcher for this Milwaukee Brewers team, you're probably thinking, I got to be perfect or else this is a wrap. I give up a run or two in the first, second, third inning. It's a wrap. If you're the bullpen coming in a 1-run game, team hasn't won a game in the 7th after trailing after the 7th inning. So it's very feeble. I guess feeble is the best way to put it. Nick on YouTube, I disagree. They have been competitive the last 2 weeks compared to the first month and a half. They're showing effort. The stars just haven't aligned. Yes and no. I mean, I think effort's always been there. I'll never question the effort of a professional athlete. I think the effort is always going to be there, or at least it should be. They're again, it goes back to what they do good versus what they do great. And there's nothing there. Like, there's nothing, great versus good. I don't even know what they do good. to be quite honest with you, outside of invent ways to lose, right? Like figuring out ways to lose, I guess, over managing their pitching. And that's been the big problem, right? That's been the big problem. We talked about how taxed this bullpen is. You had an opportunity. I would have let Quinn Priester go out there for the 7th inning. That was my turning point in tonight's game as they lose to the Pittsburgh Pirates 2-1, and they fall to 25-28 on the season. One last comment here over on YouTube from Grayman. Agreed 100%. This is just sad and hard to watch. I have very little faith that this team will go anywhere this year. Like I've said before, last year's team formula seemed to work. So why change it this year? I think the big thing too, and I'm guilty of this, and I'm not pointing out Grayman over on YouTube. This year's team is not last year's team. A lot of it the same players, completely different mindset. It feels like completely different vibes. It just feels like so far it's been a complete 180 from where we saw a team that found ways to win, invented ways to win, was tenacious on defense, was tenacious on the base pass, played, offensively, was clutch, played situational baseball. None of that this year, as the Brewers now 3-3 this week so far against two of the worst teams in baseball. We'll see if they can figure out a way to get a win in Game 4 against the Pirates tomorrow. My thanks to each and every one of you. Thank you for always making Locked On Brewers your first listen each and every day. My name is Brandon Snide. As always, it has been an honor and a pleasure to be able to sit here and talk about Brewers baseball in a 2-1 loss to the Pirates. And as the old saying goes, we'll see if they can rebound tomorrow, but we all kind of have our doubts, as we should. As always, win, lose, or draw, it is still always go Brewers. Have a good one, everyone.